All right, let's get into position now for the Romanian deadlift. You want 2 dumbbells, 8 to 10 pounds is a starting weight for us women. We're gonna start in a standing position. So our feet are gonna be about hip width apart with our toes pointed forward. And we're gonna have the dumbbells hang down in front of our thighs. So my thumbs are kind of almost, grazing the front of my thighs here. You want to unlock the knees. So we're not having like a majorly bent knee, but we also don't want them locked out. So think about having a straight leg that's unlocked knee. Now, before we get into doing the movement, with the shoulders, we want to pull the shoulder blades down. When we do that, it's this dumbbell down. When we pull the shoulder blades down, that's gonna activate our lat muscles, these muscles here on our back. That is going to help us keep our low back stable as we bend over so that our spine isn't bending. So that's what pulling the shoulder blades down does. Then when we pull the shoulder blades in, also like closer to the spine, that is going to protect the shoulder joint as we lean over and as this dumbbell is pulling on the shoulder blade and joint together, all right? So shoulder blades down and back in closer to the spine. And then they're just gonna kind of stay there as we lean over. Now to do the movement, this is what's called a hip hinge movement, where we hinge from the hip. So it's hinging back, our butt's gonna go back. And that is the cue I could probably give you for this movement, to think about the body moving, the butt moving backwards. And we wanna try to keep the shins as vertical as possible. So it's very common when we think about leaning over to think about kind of, you can see my knees moving forward. That's kind of a common mistake. But what we wanna think about is the butt going back as we hinge at the hips and the shins staying pretty vertical. And we're not gonna really be bending the knees much at all, okay? So here we are. From the hips, start bending over. The butt's moving back. We're keeping the shins vertical. And we're gonna go basically until you feel a stretch in your hamstrings, until you can't go any further to where the hamstrings are preventing you from going any further. If I go any further, then I'm gonna have to start rounding my spine, right? So we're not gonna do that. Now for you, that might only be to here. So I can go until the dumbbells are about in line with my knees, and that is a point that probably a lot of us may be able to do or be able to eventually get to. But just remember, it's the hamstrings that are gonna kind of be the limiting factor. You wanna feel a nice healthy stretch, but it shouldn't feel like you're about to hurt yourself, okay? Hi, I'm Rizal. If you're a woman in your over 40s like myself, and you know that you should be incorporating some resistance training in your life as you get older, but you have felt overwhelmed by knowing how to do proper form and worrying that you're going to hurt yourself, I create in-depth tutorials like this. And additionally, over on my blog, I go into more detail, common mistakes to avoid, ways to make the movement easier so you can build up, ways to make it more challenging. If you like my style of teaching and you'd like to continue learning with me, come on over to my website at inspirefulwomen.com. So we go down to whatever level we can, keeping that neutral spine. So no bending going on at the spine, just the way the spine is standing up, it remains that way, but just moves downward, but doesn't actually like bend, right? This is actually the bottom position. So now to lift back up, we are just going to think about moving the hips forward. We're gonna pull the hips forward, pressing our feet down into the floor to stand back up, like that. When we stand back up, what we're going for is simply standing up straight and tall pretty much with that unlocked knee. So sometimes when we come back up, there can be a tendency to kind of like shove our hips way forward like this. I used to kind of do that. But that's kind of like, we don't stand like this, right? I don't know, maybe if I was a hoodlum, I'm not sure, but we don't stand like this. We stand like this. So we're just trying to get back up to standing. All right, so let's go again. So we're gonna hinge at the hips, send the butt back. Think about keeping that vertical shin. The arms here, they're just hanging. We wanna try to keep those shoulder blades kind of retracted versus kind of letting them go like that. And we do want those dumbbells hanging kind of like straight down, kind of closer to our legs. We don't want them to be, reaching out like this. So that's gonna be tough on our back and our low back. So the dumbbells just kind of go down rather close to the legs. Go as far as your hamstrings will allow, a nice stretch in the hamstrings. Then press down with the feet and pull with the hips to come forward. Now one more thing is with the neck, you'll notice you want to have your gaze, for me anyway, it helps to keep my gaze slightly downcast. Think our neck is an extension of our spine. It's part of our spine, right? So since our torso is actually moving downwards, if we keep kind of looking up at the horizon, what's going on then is that our neck is bending. But we really want to keep our neck in alignment with our spine. So neck should go down along with the spine, no bending of it. So for me, it helps to keep my eyes slightly downcast. That kind of helps me remember to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and do a few more together now quietly. So there you have it. Just again to reiterate, kind of the main factors to getting this movement correct is think about the butt moving back behind you. Think about your torso will then move down as a result rather than like forward. We're not trying to move forward, but back, torso down, and keeping that shin vertical and not really bending the knees much, okay? If you can do that, then you're gonna have this down, you'll be working your glutes and hamstrings. And don't forget, we wanna keep, a relatively active abdominals too, right? So just keep them gently engaged. And that's it. Thanks for being with me today, ladies. Once again, I'm Razel, and if you are a woman in your over 40s and you'd like to do full-length workouts using these different exercises that I teach, I create that. And I not only create them, but I do them in beautiful outdoor settings like this. And one thing that's unique outside of the setting is the music. I use much more chill music than you're gonna hear in most workout classes. So if you're ready to feel more chill and more peaceful while you're exercising and you like my style of teaching, come on over to my website at inspirefulwomen.com.